I'm Marisa Norcross.
And I'm Dave Freund, and this is The Next Page.
Hello.
Hello there, how are you?
Good. Welcome to April.
April.
For our
April showers
recording.
bring Mayflowers.
By the time this comes out, it'll be our second one of April, I think. But
That's true.
we made it.
We did. We made it through winter. Labrador Mountain is officially closed. I went out and I picked up my skis on Saturday, which was a rather depressing thing, since I only skied 3 times and I bought a season's pass. But
I was going to ask you because I didn't hear you talk too much about skiing this winter. So
I didn't do much about it. You know, I was preoccupied with other things.
The bathroom renovation.
The bathroom renovation. Yeah, and I did go on vacation. That took a couple Saturdays out, which was far better than skiing down a hill. But we're working our way towards spring, and when I look out, you know, the window here in my house, I kind of look up out a basement window kind of thing, but there are tulips and daffodils and hyacinths pushing through the soil. So it's a good sign.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
And soon, if all of that's happening, soon we should be able to start seeing things like frogs and toads.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's perfect way to lead into today's topic. We're talking about something that I think a lot of people will relate to, and that is something that I'm currently working on in my life, and I know you mentioned that you are too.
Yes.
Eating frogs.
Eating frogs.
Yum.
And now all of our listeners are really worried about what that means. But, you know, Mark Twain once said that if the first thing you do each morning is eat a live frog, you can go through the day knowing that nothing worse is going to happen.
Uh-huh.
And he's right.
Yeah.
I can't think of much worse than eating frogs. However, it is, you know, Brian Tracy had used, he's a leadership guy, executive coach, and he said that, you know, every morning we need to eat a frog. And what he means by that is, what are those things that we hate doing, that we know we have to do? It's a major thing that we've been procrastinating. He goes, forget it. Just eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Eat it in the morning. And he said, the uglier the frog, or, you know, you want to eat that one first. You want to eat the ugliest frog first, and your day's going to be better. And he's right. Yeah. Because all of us procrastinate.
Absolutely.
And we need to stop it, because it's really just destroying our productivity.
Mm-hmm. And then I know you have got a good example that you like to share from your Making Today Matter class, which I think is relatable. So I was hoping you could share that with our listeners.
Sure. So typically I'm only speaking from experience. That's all this is. And I use the example of, it's a Saturday morning. You've been waiting for Saturday to come all week, and finally it's here. It is now finally Saturday morning. But there are a couple projects chores you know you need to get done. You know, maybe it's nothing major, but it still is a bit of annoying. Mm-hmm. So you get up, you know, you get dressed, you go out into let's say the kitchen, the family, whatever, you make a cup of coffee, and all of a sudden that very special person in your life says, hey, why don't we go out for breakfast? Sure, you know, I'm supposed to be working on my relationship, building a healthy marriage, so let's go to breakfast. It's great. It's quality time. It's exactly what we need. So you go out, 2 hours later, you come home. Now, you've just finished eating a giant frittata, that, you know, or whatever, or maybe a stack of pancakes followed by 2 scrambled eggs and bacon and ham and all of those things. You can't work. You're full. So you sit down and you say, you know, I'm only going to take a few minutes to let this food digest, and you know what? I'm not going to waste my time. So I'm actually going to use my time effectively, and I'm going to watch PBS. It's educational. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's This Old House or the New Yankee Workshop or something, or the Victory Garden or whatever it is that's going to help me become a better homeowner. Next thing you know, it's lunchtime. Oh, I can't go out and start my chore now because it's time for lunch. So you have a light lunch, because you shouldn't eat a big one because you had a huge breakfast. And then that special someone says, you know, would you mind running some chores with me, or running some errands with me rather? Oh, not a problem. Next thing you know, it's dinner time. And you didn't get your chores done, and you feel awful. Mm-hmm. And that really is what happens. We get to this point where we simply feel awful because we didn't get the work done, when if we would have simply eaten the frog first thing, the day would have been better. Yep. Now, I don't know about you, but that is a very typical, minus the breakfast, because I'm a big breakfast person and my wife really isn't, but that's a very typical scenario. Mm-hmm. And you get to the end of the day and you feel awful because you didn't do what you know you needed to do.
Yep.
So eat the frog.
Yep.
The ugly ones first. Whatever it is, clean the gutters, wash out the garbage can. I don't know what it is, but do it first.
I always
Wash the
feel
car,
like you just
whatever.
feel so much more accomplished. My daughter woke up Saturday morning sick, and so she woke up about 4 hours earlier than she normally would. And
Wow.
so, therefore my husband and I were up 4 hours earlier. Well, not 4 for us, but a couple hours earlier for us. And I figured, you know what? I'm awake and I have no chance of going back to bed at this point. So I might as well go to the grocery store.
Sure.
I was at Wegmans before 7 a.m.
Wow.
And it was magical. There's no one there. I got a great parking spot, got all my shopping done before the big rush. I was out of there by 8:01.
Sure.
And I came home, had everything put away, and, granted my daughter was sick, so I had a lot of laundry from that, so I didn't get too much of the regular chores done. But looked at the clock, it was like 11:55, and I had already accomplished so much by the time I sat down. And the circumstances were poor because my daughter was sick, and we weren't able to enjoy the day because we had to stay home. But I just thought to myself, I need to do this more often.
Right.
It's tough waking up, but once you're...
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's actually there's a gentleman that I follow on Instagram, Joe Duncan. And
before 5 a.m.?
Before 5 a.m.
Yes.
And his point is, get up early. And what he says is that your most important hours of the day are between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. before you start your day. That's when you work on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you work on your exercise, your meditation, your devotional time, whatever it is, to set yourself up for success. And it really does change your day, but you have to be disciplined to eat the frog early.
Yeah.
So maybe one of the things you and I should chat about is, why do we procrastinate?
Right.
What is it that causes us to put it off?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any ideas?
Well, I think we're trained to avoid the unpleasant.
Right.
Why would you do something difficult when you could do something more enjoyable? Why would you tell your wife, I don't really want to go to breakfast and enjoy a nice meal when I could be cleaning the gutters?
Exactly. You're right. I think we default in going the easy route,
especially at work too, because there are so many things. So we might be focusing on the wrong things because that's activity.
Right.
Right.
And activity and productivity are not the same thing. Yet a lot of times we think it is. And so I'm going to give you an example that I also use. I believe in making today matter. So my first job when I was a senior in high school, and actually I was working for G.A. Braun. I worked there part-time because I got out of high school about 12:30, and a good friend of mine worked there part-time as well, and he and I had kind of grown up together. And my first day there, he said to me, he goes, Dave, I got a secret for you. I said, what's that? And he goes, if you take a clipboard and a pencil and you walk quickly back and forth through the plant, nobody will ever ask you what you're doing, and you can kill hours and hours without ever having to do anything. And I thought to myself, how stupid.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm walking, so I'm doing something. I'm still going to get tired. Wouldn't it be better if I sat and did something productive? Now, I'm thankful that it, I don't know how they let me work because I was only 17, but they did. Oh, well, maybe the laws were different, back in the 1800s, so to speak. But I was 17, and at that point, I learned that lesson. If you're going to do something, make it productive, because too often you just feel, well, I did something, but you get home. So let's look at this. How do we feel when we get home at the end of the day, or at the end of the day, we're exhausted, we're really tired, we're shot, we don't even know what we got done.
Right.
The day seemed like a total waste.
Right.
And we blew it, and because we weren't working on the right things. It's interesting that William Penn said this quote, time is what we want the most, but what we use the worst. And if we think about it, none of us can ever get that time back, but we just wasted a day.
Right. And I think, how do we feel when we procrastinate? We feel terrible.
We do.
But then also that anxiety, because now, you've put it off. So the pressure of accomplishing it or meeting your deadlines, or, in school when you had a project and you just waited until the last minute.
Right.
That causes, a snowball effect of issues.
It
Because
does.
it just keeps, every day or every hour, whatever increment of time you're measuring in, just makes it that much worse. You're probably dreading it even more now because you've built it up to be this thing that it's really not, when if you'd just done it, you get it over with.
Exactly.
It probably wasn't that bad.
Exactly. So I think the key for us is to, we know that we feel great when we get things done. We know that we feel lousy when we don't. So basically, let's just suck it up and get busy.
Right.
And then so we have to do is as we look at our day. And first of all, one of the things that everybody should be doing, if they're not already, is that you should be planning tomorrow before you leave work. Take some time. And I'm not talking about, planning every single moment of your day, but identifying what is that frog I need to eat first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
What's my primary objective that I have to work on? And I always tell people, especially my coaching clients, pick 2 things that you need to do every day that absolutely are things you absolutely positively have to get done. And don't look at your to-do list until those things are done. One of the distractions that a lot of folks do is they have this to-do list, and even if they back when I used to use the Franklin Franklin Covey system, is you have your A's, your B's, and your C priorities, and then you have your A1, A2, A3. Well, that's wonderful for setting priorities. It's lousy if that's sitting in front of you all day, because chances are you're not going to do the most important thing, because the second most important thing is easier.
Right.
So pick the most important thing, move it to a separate sheet, whatever you need to do, and say, boom, I'm going to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee your day will be more productive.
Yep.
One of the things I saw as I was looking, doing some research on this, is just this comment. Imagine what we would have been able to accomplish in our life today if we hadn't procrastinated.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow. I think back to high school. Imagine the grades I could have gotten had I not procrastinated about homework.
Right.
So what could that have done to change my life going forward? So the point is, okay, I can't change. There was a video I used to show years ago in supervisory leadership where there was a VP from General Motors, and his comment was, I refuse to be as stupid going forward as I have been in the past. So smarten up and do something about it.
And think about the time that you'll get back from not procrastinating, because that takes up time and mental capacity.
Right. The anxiety.
Right. Well,
So
and the things you busy yourself with.
Right.
To avoid doing the thing that you need to do.
And I'm glad you put it that way, because I can imagine people saying, what do you mean time I'm going to get back? It's not like I'm sitting there doing nothing. No, you're doing the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing busy work as opposed to productive work. And you're going to say, no,
Yeah.
I have to do it. Well, okay, but did you have to do it that way? Could it have been delegated to someone else? The 1 minute manager, where it was only handle something once.
Yeah.
How many times do I say, I'm going to scan this later, and I put it down, or I'll file this later and I put it down, just because I don't want to deal with it at that moment. Income tax, we're getting close to that tax deadline, and and unless you're getting money back, you're probably like me, waiting till the last minute to pay the check, because I don't want to give the government my money any longer than I have to. All right, so how organized was I in keeping track of all those receipts throughout the year?
Mm-hmm.
If I, why didn't I do it? Because that was an ugly frog I didn't want to eat. If I'd eaten that frog, things would be much smoother. Spreadsheets would be built, whatever it might be, to be able to do those things quicker.
I'm glad you mentioned that, only handling things once, because I feel like I recently was reading about this in an email from Nancy Ray, who I've mentioned on the podcast before, and the subject line was just Ohio, only handle it once.
Oh, I like that.
So, my husband probably wants to delete all the emails I ever get from Nancy Ray because I'm always telling now I'm, marching in the house, Ohio, just telling him like to just handle it once. But I think about it too with email and things that come over across our desks and things. And it's
Right.
like, how much time do we spend just thinking about like how we can handle it or what we're going to do with it when we could easily just say, for example, like I get a lot of the things that I have go on my MACNY credit card are like subscription services. So I get an email
Hmm.
receipt. And it's like, how long am I going to let that sit in my inbox or file it into a different category before I just print it, get up, walk to the
Right.
printer, and put it
Exactly.
in my folder for receipts so that when Mary comes
Right.
around every month with my credit card statement, I've got it all there. And so
And if you
even
and if
today
you
I was
think
thinking
about it,
about it.
yeah, that's not even a frog. That's a tadpole.
Right, that's nothing.
We can
Right.
swallow that little sucker, one gulp of coffee, and it's done. That's not
Yeah.
even. But yet we don't. And then all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
so if you don't, wow, this could be an analogy. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't swallow the tadpoles, pretty soon they're big ugly frogs.
Right. Right.
Wow, that could be another article someday.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Tadpoles and frogs.
So let's talk
So
about some solutions
yes,
and
exactly, because
how
we
we
need
can make this happen.
yeah, we need to get to that. Take your First of all, you need to know how to identify your ugly frogs, and it's just they're the ones that are the hardest to do,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to do them. Get them done first. Plan it the night before. Write it down. Schedule it. And you know what? If you've got a really really ugly frog, and your power hour, so to speak, is in the morning, which some people is, for me it is, get in a little bit earlier and get it done, and your entire day will get better.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that is, what is your power time in the day? Is it in the evening? Is it in the morning? Is it midday? For me, um, clearly, if I don't get it done by 2 o'clock, I'm in trouble because my energy level drops dramatically after about 2 o'clock. So find your power time, and then just block out time. I think I've talked about this in the past. Use deep work time. So schedule in your day a couple times a week at least. If it'd be great if you could do it daily, but I've never been able to do it daily. 1 to 1.5 hours of what you'll call deep work time, and
Mm-hmm.
eliminate all distractions. No calls, no emails, no chatting with coworkers. Shut things down and just work on stuff.
Right.
And you'd be surprised how much more productive you can be by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Even that little email alert that pops up can cost you 15 to 20 minutes of productivity
Right.
because you get distracted by it.
What if it's
Um,
important? What that's like when it pops up, you're
yeah,
immediately thinking like, oh, this could be so important.
sure. So one of the things we've talked about in the past is, yeah, what if it's important? Well, if it's really important, they're probably going to call you or come to
Exactly.
your office.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing if because typically I don't do my deep work stuff at home. I'm doing it at work. So my door's shut. Um, and there are some people that I've given authorization, so to speak, or approval. You're one of them to interrupt my deep work time
Right.
because I know you value it and you're not just gonna take advantage of it. But if there's a problem, they'll get you.
Mm-hmm.
Life's not gonna end, but you'll be a lot more productive, and then you'll have time for those important things in your life, like spending time with your kids, going to dinner with your spouse, instead of staying to have to work late at the office all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
deep work is a big one. Um, break some of your ugly frogs down into 10 to 15-minute steps. Maybe I can't do it all today, but I can do short bursts.
Right.
And then by the end of the week, it's done.
Right.
And there are things, there's things that I hate. I can't stand, I hate making phone calls, chasing people down for money.
Mm-hmm.
I just hate it. I'm not good at it. But you know what? So instead of just deciding I'm going to, block out a whole day, maybe make one a day till I get it done. What you may find is that it's not as bad as you think, and
Right.
as you get it done, you can begin to build momentum. Law 16 in the invaluable laws, irrefutable laws of leadership is the law of Big Mo.
Hmm.
Get momentum going in your favor. Um, yeah, and you got to remove distractions. You've got, whatever it is, get rid of it. And I did a little bit of research. There are apps that you can get for your phone
Hmm.
and for your iPad and even for your laptops that will block out social media things at certain times.
Or I think there's some too that will limit, like if you set, okay, I'm only allowed to be on Facebook for 30 minutes a day. And
Right.
then once you hit that 30, it'll shut you down.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because we know the average person, at least a few years ago, the average person spends 43 minutes a day on Facebook.
No, I'm sure it's higher than that.
Yeah, I actually had somebody say to me, "Oh, it's much worse."
Hmm.
I said, "Oh, okay." So that's one of them. So you're using kind of technology to reduce your distractions.
There's a
Another,
lot of tools too.
there
Just
are.
sticking with the technology. One of the ones I love is the project management tool Asana,
Hmm.
and it's great because you can see all the things that you've set yourself up for the month, the week, the day, whatever, and
Okay.
it makes it really manageable to know, like, is this realistic, is it not, what can be moved to a lighter day,
Yep.
and and
Wow,
I
that's great.
in like I know that if I accomplish those things, and oftentimes they're part of bigger projects, so they're smaller
Sure.
tasks part of bigger projects, but if I can accomplish those things today, like, that's what I set out to do, and I've I feel accomplished. I feel like I've
Yep.
had a good day at work, and it just gives you a visual snapshot, because I think we often overcommit ourselves, which leads to
Right.
procrastination. And even when you check the little box, I have mine set up so that it has like confetti every once in a while,
That's
or
cool.
little congratulations.
Yeah.
And you can collaborate with other people on it. So a few of our other team members at Macne use it, and I feel like it helps set more realistic expectations, because that's at the foundation of this too. If your expectations are unrealistic,
Right.
how can you accomplish all the things that
Sure.
you set out to do?
Wow, that's great. Another thing I saw somebody post was start a done list. When you get some, when you've eaten some frogs, write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine how good you're going to feel when you just see one after another things just being added to that list.
Mm-hmm.
It's an accomplishment. You feel so good. Um, Short walks are also powerful.
Yep.
If you're in the middle of a very difficult task, every half hour, get up and just take a quick walk. Sometimes outside, of course, that can be a problem in
Ideally.
Central New York. Ideally
Yeah.
outside, but some of us, now I have windows and you have windows, but a lot of folks have inside cubicles or things that don't have windows.
Mm-hmm.
Just go look outside.
Especially when you're
Go,
feeling like you don't know where to focus your attention. If you can't even, sometimes you get to this point where you can't even identify what the frogs from the non-frogs, from the
right.
tadpoles, and it's a good reset.
It really is. And yeah. Another thing that I just want to touch on before we run out of time is don't multitask.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, no matter how much you think you can do it, you can't multitask. Now, maybe, well, at least men can't multitask. Women might be able to, but I know for a fact men cannot multitask.
Mm-hmm.
So please, just one thing at a time. And it reminds me of um, a MASH episode many, many years ago. And I don't remember which, but I remember Charles Emerson Winchester III was talking, and somebody was telling me, hey, you got to hurry up, you got to hurry up. And he just said, listen, I do one thing, I do it very well, and then I move on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we need to start taking a little bit of Charles Emerson Winchester III on, and I guarantee you will be much more productive.
Yep.
So how's that?
It was great.
Maybe we should challenge our listeners.
Yeah.
Send in your greatest tips for beating procrastination.
And I think also I want to challenge myself, you, our listeners, to just try some of these things. Like, just because
Yeah,
you're going to do it for a week doesn't mean you're going to do it forever.
right.
You know, if your most productive time is in the morning, like try for 1 week waking up an hour earlier.
Sure.
Or whatever. If you've got kids, like wake up before your kids. Don't let your kids be your alarm clock.
Yep.
Try something that you think could help you on this, and do it for a week. Do it for 2 weeks. And if you don't like it, and if it doesn't work, let us know. And
Sure.
And go back. But I feel like it'll work.
I think it will
if
too.
you implement any of these things.
Exactly. You know, it's going to get easier because it's getting brighter early every day.
Yes.
So at least you're not getting up at dark 100.
Mm-hmm.
There will be sunshine, light, maybe not sunshine, very quickly.
Yep.
But yes, I really encourage folks. Tell us what you think. Send in your ideas. Tell us how it's working.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I might need to think of something, maybe some giveaway we can do for people that give us the best ideas.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I have to think about that.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
All right.
What about next week? Or do you know what we're going to talk about yet?
I do. Passion.
Ooh.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, great.
So, again, please subscribe, give us feedback, and send in ideas that you have for how you can beat procrastination. And you and I will pick the winner, and we will award a gift of some sort that you and I can talk about.
Okay.
After. Okay?
It's maybe a frog.
Maybe a frog. No, probably not a frog.
Just kidding.
No, we're going to eat them first.
Yes.
So we got to eat the frogs ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I'm Dave Freund.
I'm Marisa Norcross.
And this was The Next Page.